Now, morality, I would start by introducing the ideas of morality. That why individual morality? I'm adopting this particular stance in the paper. Why is individual morality so important and higher as compared to communal morality? So there are few reasons why I think so, and why various critics also, say that individual morality is higher because people who are moral in terms of community. If you are following a particular scripture, if you are following a particular law, it does not mean that people are true to their conscience. So society, if is constituted by people who are not true to their conscience, that means a lot of people present are untrue to themselves. Secondly, it might lead to hidden deviant behavior, and this I would relate to Gothic novels and how in various novels such as Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, we see how the civilizing influence leads to split personality disorder in certain characters. Thirdly, individual morality promotes authenticity and sincerity. This is a concept given by Lyman Trilling, sincerity and authenticity, and also that communal morality mostly clouds the notion of individual morality. Now, morality is largely dependent by legal or religious authorities. Usually, law is the secondary authority, and religion is the higher authority here. This is because morality is an issue pertaining to the soul, the human soul. We are, in fear of being damned up if you are not moral enough. So therefore, morality becomes something which is arbitrary and authoritarian. We feel, something which is bad is bad because it is forbidden. It is not forbidden because it is bad, right? So it goes that way. Now I will start the analysis of the text here. Pranishacharya is the crest jewel of Vedanta in the text, and he is a family man, but he is still an ascetic. And how is that? Because he is so committed to his morality, to the cause of salvation, that in his strivings for moksha, he has denied all physical pleasures. He is married to an invalid woman, and who is not able to give him any kind of physical pleasure. And one of the reasons why Pranishacharya is so, has this ascetic inclination is because he is following the idea of celibacy, given great importance in scripture, that how a celibate is more, prone to attain salvation than a family man. And then that Pranishacharya is also does not want to fall like his friend Mahabala, who fell down from his scholarly inclinations very early. Now there is an act of transgression. The title of the paper breaks up into sections, morality and transgression. So I would define transgression. What is transgression here? In a moment of dazedness, this family ascetic, he unites with Chandri, and this is due to some complex problem in the novel that he is not able to find answers to certain questions, that how the body of Narunappa, an anti-Brahmin Brahmin, should be cremated. So therefore, in that moment of dazedness, in that moment of hunger, and he unites with Chandri. So this is the act of transgression which gets committed by him. Now, why is this an act of transgression? Because he is a learned Brahmin who sleeps with this prostitute Chandri. And secondly, because he is a married man. So therefore, it is an act of transgression. Now, however, this particular act of transgression is totally revealing for him. It reveals for him the pleasure of desire, the pleasure of having derived from the flesh, and through this new experience, new worlds of awareness open to him. It kind of separates him. Pranishacharya actually shows the whole Agrahara concentrated in his form. He is the greatest form of Brahmanism, orthodox Brahmanism in the society, and when this particular person commits transgression, it has a greater importance. Pranishacharya is, now why I say that Pranishacharya is an adherent of individual morality and not communal morality. That communal morality was brand him as a transgressor, as a sinner, but he rather is individually moral to himself, and he follows individual morality because he realizes that something that he has committed is not acceptable by the society, and he is ready to confess that before all the Brahmins of the Agrahara what he has done. However, he lacks courage to do that, and he chooses to walk away from the situation. But he never ever, flouts this particular. He never is hypocritical that he has done a certain thing and he is, projecting a different side. Now, what are the probably, why Pranacharya has committed this kind of transgression? Because one of the very pertinent reasons is that even though he had left desire, desire had not left him. Now, Pranacharya, he realizes the individually moral person that he is, he realizes that he cannot hide the guilt of having this particular association, this new pleasure of his spontaneity which is revealed to him, and he walks away from the Agrahara. We also see in the novel how the transgressors are more powerful. They have a capacity to act decisively. That the central question of the novel, the samskara of a dead body, is solved in a very, very absurd manner. That how a low caste prostitute, Chandari, she disposes of the corpse with the help of a Muslim friend. So the central question of the text is totally, solved in an ironic manner. But this is actually done by a transgressor, Chandri. She is a low caste prostitute, a person living on the margins of the society. Now, the conclusion, I would like to put up various question that though Pranacharya is seen as a transgressor, we would also brand him as a transgressor, seen with the eyes of communal morality. But this raises certain questions, and which are that can the laws of community hold true for an exceptional case like Pranacharya's? Will the community label him as a sinner for the single time he gave way to his inner desires? And is the community, now the community, that particular community consists of all hypocritical and lecherous Brahmins. None of them is as great as Pranacharya, and he himself flouts, the laws of communal morality here. It is, problematizes the issue that whether he actually should be labeled as a transgressor or a sinner. Now, seen in the context of all these ideas, we cannot really say that we can say that Pranacharya, he adheres to this particular voice of conscience, this voice of morality, and it it supports what various great people have to say. One of the theorists they have to say that how Nietzsche and Vattel, they are the professors of individual morality, that when they say that as Jenks opines about Nietzsche's views on morality in the context of situation like Durvasapur's, which is a life-denied situation, the only ray of light there is the association of Pranacharya and Chandri, which is life-affirming, and therefore this shows the rise of the individual spirit, the affirmation of the new triumphalist, which is actually seen in the protagonist Pranacharya here. Thanks a lot.
Participants, please note the feedback form that is given to you. Kindly fill it only on the submission of which you will be issued certificates. Between 10 to 11, we are going to have discussion session in which your queries, questions, comments, observations will be entertained. So kindly reserve all your queries. You can jot them down on a piece of paper so that it will be presented in this session. Now I invite the chairperson for this session, Dr. Sonia Singh, for giving her concluding remarks.
Very good morning, friends. First of all, let me thank Dr. Sudhir Nikam and Dr. Madhvi Nikam for giving me this opportunity to chair this session, this wonderful session with the August Gathering, this wonderful illuminating research scholars, and of course the associate professors and professors, the torch bearers. And of course I am also overwhelmed by the presence of the keynote addressee, Dr. Anand Patil, because long back I met him in 1999 when I attended a refresher course in Rajkot, and since then we have a long relationship with that person, and again I got this opportunity to meet him here, so this was an added pleasure. Now coming to the session, particular session, the second session of this morning, we had 4 paper presenters, and I must congratulate all the 4 presenters. I think we must give them a big hand, because all of them, they were seriously researched The papers were well designed and the presenters were very smart and confident. They had a scholarly approach. The papers were well exemplified. Illustrations were there, references were there. And the first two papers, they dealt with the partition trauma. Dr. Poonam Trivedi, she took up a topic in which she presented a study of Anil Sharma's Lucky Lady and K.L. Zakir's Karmavali. Although both the two works are not familiar to me, but still, after listening to her paper, I could make up that it has been done wonderfully, and I was also tempted to read the two. Then the second paper was by Remika Singhvi. Again, we had a very good presentation, very confident presentation indeed, on Tanvima Anamas, the Good Muslim. Then the third paper was by Amrita Basu, a very bold analysis, I should say, at this age, and I congratulate her for this very innovative research done on the T-shirt slogans. Normally, I just recall Dr. Anand Patil's word that whatever research should be done should be innovative. It should be in a pattern which has not been attempted before. So this was something novel to me, and I hope to you people too. And the fourth paper was by Aditi Dev, and it dealt with the morality issues. And here I would say that she very beautifully presented the conflicts and dilemmas of morality, of individual morality and of the community morality. And what is important, what I could gather from her paper is that whether we desire morality or we live morality. This is the basic question. Whether we desire it or we live by it. So all the four participants, the presenters, they were very good, and the referees here, they have done their job very seriously. And with this, I take a leave and announce this session to be complete, this particular session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for blessing this session as a chairperson. I thank the referees also and the participants and presenters for making this session successful. Now we are heading for the next session that is to be titled as a discussion session, in which the question answers various comments, observations that if you have made any on both the days, the first day and second day both. So that is going to be taken up in this session. It's very important for participants to cooperate with us with their questions. In fact, we really could not do justice yesterday also and today also. If we had some queries, we really could not give you time and chance to bring them up. Now in this session we are going to do justice to it. In fact, without any sort of debate, without dialogue, it won't really give a sense of completion to this conference. Socrates said this once: when the debate is lost, the slander becomes the tool of losers. So we would give debate its chance in this session, the session of discussion. So for this session, I invite Dr. Chetan Deshmani as a chairperson of this session. He is Associate Professor in Department of English, HPT College, Nashik. For this session, the referees would be Dr. Sudipta Banerjee and Dr. Ravindra Mazde. Dr. Ravindra Mazde is head of Department of English, Nes Wadia College, Pune. So I invite chairperson and referees on stage so that we quickly begin with this session. Sir, thank you, ma'am. I request Srikant HM to present a bouquet to Dr. Chetan Deshmani as a token of love and gratitude.
afternoon to all of you. This being a discussion session, I would like to connect certain things so that a discussion can be started at least. Now, we may not have enough time because 1 hour for discussions on various topics is a kind of impossibility. So, in order to further the matters here, some kind of initiation is necessary. I will just read out that particular statement which is there in the pamphlet of this conference, and then I proceed towards certain other things which are mentioned in the issues, and I try to connect them so that some discussion can begin. Now, the statement of the first conference of SAARC region's writers, it mentions this kind of resolution. Let governments do their political and diplomatic work. Let us, the writers and the creative fraternity of the region, endeavor to create bridges of friendship across the borders. Now, when we talk about bridging various gaps, we are talking about homogenizing effect, creating that kind of effect. Now, what happens when you think of creating bridges like this? One of the most important things that emanates is the attempt to form canals. Now, if this exists, if this tendency of canal formation exists, and this is very much one of the issues which are mentioned in the pamphlet of this seminar. So, canal formation begins right at the point when we think of homogenizing anything, whether it is communities, whether it is thoughts, or whether it is policies or political issues. When we try to attempt this kind of homogenization, these things automatically start. Now, if you look at South Asian literature read all over the world, you will always find that it is Indian writers, they are preferred more in comparison with any other writers from any other region. Now, this is precisely what is canal formation. You will see more books published on Indian writers writing in English, whether they are diasporic or living in India. But this is precisely what happens. Now, this being one of the issues, we also take a cue from this in order to go back to another issue which is mentioned in the pamphlet itself. And it is expression and resistance in SAARC literature. So, art, literature, and films as modes of expression and resistance in SAARC literature. Now, we won't concentrate much on what we call expression here, because we all know that any kind of literature or artwork is a kind of expression. But then, when we talk about resistance, we also talk about protest. We also talk about marginality. We also talk about what just we saw, a question of morality when it comes to canal formation, then marginality. These are two sides of the same coin. When this happens, the question of transgression also comes up, and therefore the question of morality. So these are some of the issues which I would like you to think about, and this is going to happen on the backdrop of the multiplicity with which South Asian literature is replete. And there is a lot of multiplicity in various fields, various walks. For example, there are so many languages, multiplicity of languages, multiplicity of even scripts, multiplicity of classes, multiplicity of castes. And these multiplicities, this kind of plurality itself is something that is resistant to our homogenizing effect, our homogenizing tendency or desire. And that is precisely what the SAARC writers thought about and they came up with. Now, this being the issue which is raised in many of the smaller topics that are mentioned in our pamphlet, I would like you to think about these issues and the points which I talked about, so that there would be some kind of fruitful discussion coming up from you. Now, we will be talking to you, no question. But then, since we do not have mics here where we sit, okay, so you can raise your questions, and whoever wants to talk about it can take a mic and discuss on those issues. Whatever opinions, whatever be your arguments. You can present them. Of course, while presenting an argument, don't ever forget that you have to also not talk logically, but also give evidences from South Asian literature and cultural modes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for definitely starting with this with your speech with the foundation of Sarak writers and literature. The quote that you began with was "We are the mad dreamers and we bridge the cultural gaps." In fact, it's a continuous friction between the political entities and cultural things. Cultural relations get affected by the political relations of two countries. In fact, India Times Group had initiated Aman Ki Asha, but we still are not very sure how much did it succeed. So thank you for this beginning. Now I invite questions, queries or observations that you have made. So it is thrown open.
Excuse me, sir, but Ravindran, can be Gayatri College from here. My question is that previously we studied literature under Commonwealth literature. Now we are talking about South Asian